Hi, lovely humans. My name is Emily. It is an honor to welcome you back to the Language, Wellness, and Identity podcast. If you are new, I'm super glad you're here. I created this podcast actually as a complement to my main YouTube channel, Language Travel Adoptee. And here I seek to give you the tools and perspectives you need to value the language learning process, even when it gets hard. But here we don't talk about the strategic ways to learn a language. There's more on my YouTube channel for those kinds of tips. But here on the podcast, we get down to the more vulnerable parts of the language learning experience, acknowledging mistakes, but being brave anyways, building a resilient mindset for our setbacks and disappointments, giving voice to different language stories that involve trauma, not fitting in, and questions of belonging. If you are looking for an unpolished, unapologetic look into the language process, I'm here for you. And I want you to know you are not alone. Your story matters, no matter where you are in your journey. Now, while I love learning languages, I have found to continue my language journey with ease meant also tapping into my own power. This power involved learning how I can become a more resilient learner, able to withstand situations ranging from uncomfortable to outright painful experiences during the learning process. That is why I have made something super special for you, because it has absolutely changed totally how I learn and think about my own language learning. If you are feeling down in your language journey currently for any reason, or you could use a pick-me-up whenever you need it, check out my free cheat sheet for the resilient language learning mindset. Really quick fix so that you are able to make language learning easier on yourself and your mind. Now let's sit back and begin. I'm coming to you from under my bedroom covers once again to talk more about my perception between the video that I made 2 years ago. It was more of a polyglot check video, if you will, and how I am reconciling that now, knowing what I do know now, if that makes sense. Now, if you've been following me a lot before, you'll know that I'm really big on cultivating more of a mindset that is full of curiosity, right? Instead of only prioritizing number of languages that we can master or how well we can master those languages. And I also prioritize really the stories that our languages lead us through, or the stories that bring us to learning the languages that we are learning or have learned or already speak if we were taught the language at home. I really put an emphasis on the stories, and while I do give some language acquisition tips, that's definitely not what this podcast is about, and it is not heavily shown as much on my YouTube channel. Now, I started my YouTube channel back in 2020. It was during the pandemic, and I wanted to do something like everyone else that I saw. I really looked up to Lindy Botez. I thought about, well, maybe I can make similar videos to her. I had no strategy going in, but I knew that I liked learning languages and I thought I could share my own journey. Now, it was still going into making that type of channel, right? A language learning channel. I didn't really know where I was going with it. I just knew, well, maybe I'll share some tips that I've acquired before. I didn't really know, though, what my value system was before putting those videos out there, which is okay, right? It's a journey. What I did do was do like everyone else did, and I made the polyglot speaks whatever many languages. And so it was interesting to be organizing my videos one day this week. And then I see that video that I would have never put out had I been the person that I currently am back then. So just not even really knowing and pinpointing those values that I want to emulate into the world, right? I think that it's interesting to see how people evolve, right? And for the longest time, I was thinking about, as my messaging sort of shifted from, okay, this is how you learn languages, how to learn a language fast, how to learn it more efficiently. I still like engaging in some of those discussions, especially on other social media platforms where I'm just a participant instead of just speaking out into the void for others to consume the content. But it's not so much of a focus for me today. And so just to have it on the channel from about 2 years ago, I thought, oh, maybe I should take it down, or I wonder what people will think when they hear my current messaging and they hear what I stand for, but then they go back and they see how I still have that video on there. I remember even trying to film that video, right? I thought about, I was sitting on my living room floor with all of my cats going all around me at that moment. And I had put all of my languages that I spoke thus far. I think I was attempting to learn Portuguese at the time. I put them all in a bucket and I was so nervous. I mean, I filmed that video like 3 times and I didn't allow myself to film it a 4th time because I was just exhausted. So I went with a 3rd time and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, like I have to be perfect. And I have to speak as fast as I can. I need to look as confident as I can. I need to effortlessly switch as much as I can because I saw the videos that got views do the exact same thing, not even really taking into consideration what might be happening behind the scenes. Like everything was happening for me behind the scenes at that moment when I was trying to film a similar video. And so I remember messing up a few times and then just getting really into my head. And then at the end, I had to edit, I feel a lot of it, maybe not every single second, but I did have to edit it moderately in order to feel okay with putting it out into the world because I was at that point aiming for perfection. So of course, this is not what I exactly stand for portraying, right, in my current state of being. And it is okay. I'm not saying that you are a bad person or that you're not living by your own values if you put that kind of video out there, right? Because I have gone through that and we can all agree, right, that we all have different journeys to go through and we process different things at different points in our lives. And that goes with language learning journeys as well. And if you've processed a lot and you still like putting those videos out there, then good for you. But for me, I was really referencing just going on after deciding to learn my heritage language and really concentrating on, well, what do I truly want to put out in the world that I think the world hasn't seen enough of? And that was documenting my heritage language learning journey. And, just looking back, I'm like, oh gosh, I cringe just because I remember how nervous I was in that moment and just how much I was editing all of that video in the back of my mind after filming it. I had also already scripted pretty much everything. I wasn't reading off of a piece of paper, but I definitely had done my talking through a few times before pressing record, and I knew pretty much what I wanted to say. So it's just strange to look back on that. And I wanted to just bring this up and just have a little chat about it because after reflecting a little bit and thinking, oh, maybe I should take it down, right? I thought, well, maybe though, even that video that has the most replays on my channel, I think there's a reason for that, right? It gets a lot of clicks, those kinds of videos. But maybe I should just leave it on there, one, to make sure that the right people can funnel through to other aspects of my channel and really see how I've evolved, because evolving as a human behind our languages, that's such a aspect of the language learning journey that I really value too, even with all of the mistakes that I've done, even doing things that I'm not proud of, right? And you can physically see that on my channel, right? Seeing how I've evolved. Now, I've made some other videos private that I also made at the time that I was filming that polyglot video, but I think it'll be valuable for someone to come on and kind of see how I've been shaped. And I'm kind of glad that I started YouTube before really processing my adoption story, before really processing learning a heritage language that I was adopted from the culture, right? And I think it's beautiful that we can look back and be gentle to ourselves. And I think for me, in a weird way, in a roundabout way, right, it kind of exemplifies what I am standing for and being vulnerable too with that. Hopefully it'll be watched by the right people who will then look around and hopefully join us here on the podcast. Thinking about this a lot is what made me feel connected enough to film a podcast. Because as you guys know, whenever I film podcast episodes, I really have to be in a grounded state of mind. But as I've been scripting other YouTube videos, it really occurred to me, wow, that video has been up there for 2 years, and I guess I'm just going to keep it up there forever because I do, as I said before, value how we all evolve. And I'm also interested as well in like different listeners, right? How they evolve. I've really appreciated all of you guys who have so far, who are listening to the podcast, or you found me through the YouTube channel. You've reached out and you've been telling me more about your language stories. And I really love that because we all aren't perfect. We're all on this journey together, separate journeys, but together, as I like to put it. And there's a kind of solidarity in there too with being vulnerable. At least that's how I interpret this, by leaving that video up and still, pivoting my messaging. And it is okay. It is okay to show your evolution as a person. And I'm sure that I will keep on evolving. I am not the first person to have my evolution documented in such a way on YouTube, and certainly won't be the last. So those are my thoughts on that. But brief episode, but I was wanting to get that off my chest. Definitely, message me on any of my socials, email me as well if you thought that this episode was helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week, and continue being kind and vulnerable. Bye, guys.